Have you ever wondered why, in an age of pristine digital audio, some people are dusting off their old 8-track tapes? It might seem crazy, but there is a growing number of audiophile who swear that these chunky plastic cartridges from the 70s actually sound better than CDs. Let's dive into the fascinating world of 8-tracks and uncover why they're making a comeback. It all starts with something called analog warmth. You see, when you listen to an 8-track, you're not just hearing the music, you're hearing the tape itself. The process is mechanical. As the magnetic tape glides past the playback head, it introduces tiny, pleasing imperfections. One of these is harmonic distortion. This isn't the nasty distortion you might be thinking of. Instead, the tape generates subtle, even-order harmonics that add a certain thickness and roundness, especially to the mid-range frequencies. It's what makes a guitar riff or a vocal line feel fuller and more present. Then there's soft clipping. Digital audio has a hard limit. When a sound gets too loud, it hits a digital brick wall, resulting in a harsh, unpleasant clipping sound. Analog tape is different. It naturally compresses or squishes those loud peaks, smoothing them out. This soft clipping is much more forgiving and musical to our ears. It avoids that jarring digital distortion and gives the music a smoother, more natural dynamic. You might also be surprised to learn that 8-track tapes actually have a technical edge over the more common cassette tapes. They run at a speed of 3.75 inches per second, which is double the speed of a standard cassette. In the world of analog tape, faster is better. This higher speed allows for a better high-frequency response and greater overall fidelity. So, while cassettes were great for making mixtapes for your car, 8-tracks were designed with higher quality home listening in mind. But the story isn't just about the tape itself. A huge part of why vintage 8-tracks can sound so good has to do with how the music was originally prepared for them. This takes us back to the art of mastering in the 1970s. Back then, engineers didn't have the digital tools we have today. They had to be incredibly skillful in how they balanced the music. They mastered recordings with a lot of headroom. Headroom is essentially the space between the loudest parts of the music and the absolute maximum level the tape can handle. This generous headroom preserved the dynamic range of the music, the difference between the quietest whispers and the loudest crescendos. It allowed the music to breathe, creating a much more engaging and emotional listening experience. When you listen to a well-mastered 70s album on an 8-track, you can feel the ebb and flow of the performance. The quiet parts draw you in, and the loud parts hit you with real impact. Now let's contrast that with the digital era, specifically the loudness war. Starting in the mid-90s, there was a trend in the music industry to make CDs as loud as possible. The idea was that a louder track would stand out more on the radio or in a store. To achieve this, engineers used heavy compression and digital limiting to push the volume right up to the maximum level, a practice often called brick walling. The problem is, when you squash the dynamic range like this, you lose all the subtlety and nuance in the music. Everything is just loud all the time. This can lead to something called listener fatigue, where your ears literally get tired of being bombarded with constant high volume. It's why you might listen to a modern pop album and feel exhausted afterward, whereas a classic rock album from the 70s feels more relaxed and inviting. Many CDs, especially those remastered in the 90s and 2000s, suffer from this loudness war mastering, making them sound flat and lifeless compared to their original vinyl or 8-track counterparts. The hardware also plays a crucial role. The vintage gear designed to play 8-tracks is a key part of the sonic equation. A classic 70s stereo receiver and an 8-track player are not neutral pieces of equipment. They were built with components, like specific types of capacitors and transistors, that were chosen for their warm sound characteristics. This equipment was designed to complement the analog profile of the tape. So, when you play an 8-track on a period-correct system, You get a synergy between the recording, the tape, and the player that creates a cohesive, warm, and incredibly pleasing sound. It's a complete ecosystem designed for analog audio. Now let's get a bit more technical and talk about the physical tape itself. 8-track tapes use quarter-inch magnetic tape. This is the exact same width as the professional reel-to-reel tapes that were used in recording studios for decades. This wider format offers more surface area for the magnetic information, which generally translates to better sound quality and a lower noise floor compared to the much narrower tape found in a cassette. One of the most unique features of the 8-track is its continuous loop design. The tape is one giant loop, spooled inside the cartridge. This means the music plays continuously without ever needing to be flipped over like a cassette or vinyl record. But some audiophiles argue this continuous flow has a more profound effect. They claim that because the tape provides a continuous, unbroken signal, it's more organic and natural to the human ear. Think about it this way. ACD works by taking thousands of tiny snapshots of the sound wave every second, 44,100 of them. To be exact, this process is called sampling. Our brains are incredibly good at stitching these snapshots together to perceive continuous sound. However, analog tape doesn't take snapshots. It captures the sound wave as a continuous, flowing magnetic impression along the tape. Some listeners feel this creates a more fluid and lifelike representation of the original performance, free from the mathematical rigidity of digital sampling. Finally, there's one more cool feature that set 8-tracks apart: quadraphonic sound. In the 1970s, before the widespread adoption of modern surround sound, some 8-track tapes were released in a 4-channel format. This was a primitive form of surround sound, with 2 speakers in the front and 2 in the back. It created an immersive listening experience that was way ahead of its time. A standard stereo CD simply can't replicate this 4-channel experience without specialized processing. Listening to a quadraphonic 8-track on a proper vintage setup can be a truly mind-blowing experience, placing you right in the middle of the music. So, is the 8-track revival just nostalgia, or is there something more to it? As we've seen, it's a combination of factors. The pleasing imperfections of analog tape, the superior mastering techniques of the past, the synergy with vintage equipment, and even the unique technical design all contribute to a sound that many find richer and more engaging than what they get from a standard CD. It's a format that reminds us that sometimes perfection isn't the goal. The goal is a connection to the music. And for a growing number of people, that connection is found in the warm, wonderful sound of an 8-track tape. Thanks for watching. What do you think? Is analog warmth a real thing? Or is it all just nostalgia? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip back in time, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of audio. See you next time.